Yo, what's going on with you guys? So today I've decided to react to a video titled Why JoJo is so hard to get into. So yeah, this video should be really interesting because that specific question, why JoJo is so hard to get into, I'm not gonna lie, I asked myself that question a lot, especially before I even gave JoJo a chance. I would always hear a lot of people talk about how great the show is, how great the series is, how great JoJo is as a whole, the whole franchise pretty much. I never understood why so many people liked JoJo's Bizarre Adventure originally, but obviously now I fully understand why so many people love JoJo's. Because yeah, honestly, I would also consider myself someone who loves JoJo's now. After watching all these different videos, seeing all these different reactions, I haven't gone too far yet, but just from where I'm at in the anime, I don't know why I didn't give this show that fair shot when I originally heard about this show in 2016. But yeah, that question, why JoJo was so hard to get into, I've always asked myself that specific question a lot. So hopefully this video will help low-key validate my reasoning for not wanting to get into JoJo's, because yeah, if I'm being honest, I can't even really pinpoint a specific reason why I couldn't get into JoJo's originally. I think because the animation style was a little bit different. Yeah, if I'm being completely honest, the animation style isn't really that big of a deal to me. But as of right now, I am a JoJo's fan. So yeah, let's not get anything twisted, but it's just I like to reminisce. So I want to really understand why I wasn't really a fan of JoJo's to begin with, and why I never gave the show a fair shot. So let's check out this video and hopefully he explains why.
I would like to discuss the near insurmountable challenge presented to all new and prospective fans of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is the seemingly simple task of picking up the series to begin with. Now at this point, it's undeniable that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a phenomenon with 126 volumes of manga to its name, as well as a mighty 4 seasons of anime covering the first 5 parts of the series.
I heard JoJo is I don't know if it's relative to One Piece, but I know there's a lot of chapters.
Media, so while it may have taken a while, the series now has clear.
I know it's longer. I know it ran longer than One Piece.
Culture, which we will get into. That's one thing I know about JoJo's. Sure. But despite all of this, I don't think I've ever had a more difficult time with any other series than I have had attempting to summon the desire to actually pick up JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. It's not just me. This guy, New World Review. He too also had an issue with this, so it's not just me. I wasn't crazy.
Roadblocks that can relentlessly assault a casual reader or watcher and just turn so many.
But I think he's more on the manga side. But either way, manga
even before they even embark on their journey. And it's not as simple as saying something like, "Yeah, look, you just got to get through Phantom Blood, and then everything will be a-okay." Because the barrier for entry, I think that's where I'm at right now. Phantom Blood, than that, which is what we are here to discuss. So before even actually engaging in part 1 of JoJo, there are a couple of very core problems that prospective fans will be faced with. One of which is the very simple issue of length. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a series that has been running ever since 1987, which makes it one of the rare ongoing manga series in the world.
1987. Damn, that's a long time.
Is even older than me. And that comes with a very rich history, but also an arse ton
of chapters. One Piece came out in 98, 97,
which for some people may be incredibly exciting, sort of like a new mountain to scale.
For an
awful lot of others, especially the majority of people my generation, being millennials, by the way, I'm not that old. But for younger generations, this can be a bit of an unappealing proposition when you could instead spend that time engulfing multiple other shorter series. And in this regard, I speak from the perspective of being a long-time One Piece fan. I remember when I was in high school.
When I watched the anime of One Piece, it started off pretty interesting. So I don't know, JoJo didn't catch me immediately. I think especially for new age anime fans, I don't consider myself new age, but I'm just gonna say when I first get into an anime, if I don't really get interest in the first 10-15 minutes of the anime, I tend to just shy away from it. One Piece caught me very early on. I don't know why people say it's slow in the beginning, but One Piece, if you give it a fair shot in the beginning, it gets really interesting. But if you're not into adventure animes, then that's obviously a different story. But One Piece caught me immediately, but JoJo's didn't do that same thing for me until later on.
All ambition to give it a go. Cut to modern day, and One Piece is rapidly approaching the 1,000 chapter mark, and that issue has sadly only become more difficult. And JoJo is very much in the same boat.
Whoa!
Because at this stage, it also sits at well over 900 chapters.
You got her legs spread open and
mountain of episodes to go through.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, you know what?
I mean, just looking at the Crunchyroll JoJo page for the first time, was wow, there is a lot to this series, a lot of strange stuff, and I just don't know if I have the time to commit to it. But then, if you want to give it a go anyway, well, what do? I guess you check out the first few episodes to form a solid impression of the series, and then you run into, oh dear God, no. But before we hop into that, JoJo has another big problem from a completely outsider perspective, which is the lack of a solid brand identity. And I'll go back to One Piece as an example to illustrate this, because even someone who didn't notice that, but that's actually true, will understand the core of One Piece. They'll know Luffy, or they'll at least know his image, as well as the selection of the Straw Hats, and they will have an innate understanding that the primary concept of this world is
Zoro. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a Zoro fan, so Just seeing him pose is crazy. I like seeing that pose.
Figures. And One Piece is of course much more complicated than that, but it's an easy constant to grasp onto. Meanwhile, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure does not have this anchor. Seeing screenshots, memes, or promotional material from the series does not provide an outsider with an overall impression, because it is divided into 8 parts, each with their own protagonist and each with their own genre of storytelling.
Yeah, that's
and
another
shifting is most
point. Yeah, that's another interesting point. They have like different protagonists in different parts.
But on the outside, it can appear muddled and confusing. I mean, what is this series about? Is it about energy-fueled combat? Is it about summoning monsters to do your bidding? Is it like a...
I feel like overall Jojo is the main character because the whole show is named after him.
A comedy or a gangster drama, or even a jaunt of 2 best buddies.
But that's a good thing, though, low-key. I like... I'm sorry if I'm pausing too much, but I just gotta say this. I like how animes, they focus on different protagonists. I like that person. One of the issues with One Piece is that Luffy gets too much shine in my opinion, which isn't an issue, but like, because I actually like Luffy as a character, but like, it'll be nice to get like a whole Zoro, you know, story where he's just doing a side mission by himself. That's just what I think.
Look, it's all of that. But furthermore, who the hell is Jojo? Is this Jojo? I see him a lot, but who are all of these guys who also seem to be called JoJos? And why is one of them a sailor? All of these are potential roadblocks, which in some cases, yes, may spark interest to research the series out of sheer intellectual curiosity, but in a lot of other cases, it can lead to thinking. Ooh, and we don't like thinking because
too much thinking isn't really good.
So actually, because that show has an incredibly rich pedigree as the longest running sci-fi program in human history, and it frequently changes its protagonist through the concept of regeneration. However, that individual always possesses the undeniable identity that is the Doctor, no matter who is playing them. And it also has the stability of genre, which is sci-fi, as well as many constants such as the TARDIS, Time Lords, etc., which despite making radical changes to the fabric of the show, allows it to retain a core identity. That is something that I feel is much more difficult and probably impossible to achieve with JoJo. Once again, I do think that only serves as an advantage once you're into the series and experiencing it, but it is admittedly one of the many reasons that kept me from delving into it for the better part of a decade, because I just didn't know what to expect from it, or why I should care. And one other thing I need to address before we start, there's a lot of this, but when we're discussing Outsiders, I do need to talk about the meme culture of the JoJo fanbase. After having gone through all 8 parts, I was kind of shocked at just how far JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has infiltrated the world of mainstream memes. I mean, apparently I was enjoying JoJo references before I even realized that they were JoJo references. But with that said, the meme culture of JoJo can sometimes, I'd say,
half of the videos I react to are just JoJo
and really,
memes.
there are only so many conodiadas, and rodorolas that one can see before being given quite an obnoxious and off-putting impression of not only the fanbase, but the series itself as a result. And this is a tough one because I'm sure that these widespread memes have done just as much good as they have harm by propelling JoJo further into the world. But at the same time, before I properly delved into the series, I already felt like I was kind of over it because I had been overly saturated with memes. It's like that intriguing psychological phenomena that occurs when all of your friends highly recommend
going into JoJo. I've never seen a single meme
to watch, and then you have this moment of, oh my god, I am so sick of hearing about how I have to watch this random show that I actively want to avoid it. That is how I felt after seeing my fair share of JoJo memes, and I would definitely call them another barrier to entry. In any case, let's leave these early and numerous roadblocks aside and begin to discuss
this animation style looks really interesting.
Itself, which we start out very
I don't know if I like it,
by which I mean quite
I'm scarred. I don't know if you guys know Berserk had a similar animation style.
So after seeing all sorts of fantastical out of context images and scenes from the lifespan of the series, this is what the initial viewer is met with, which is, in essence, kind of a stock standard mediocre horror action piece from the 1980s. There's no Jotaro, who is probably the most recognizable protagonist as an outsider, nor are there any stands. It's just a couple of dudes fighting vampires in a painfully plain series of battles that eventually culminates in my favorite part of Phantom Blood, which is when it ends and I never have to watch it again. This is our first foray into JoJo, and not only does it not live up to anything we've seen out of context, it doesn't even live up to its own name of being a bizarre adventure. In reality, it is such a standard story, just featuring bulkier than average men, none of which present characters of any depth, as well as largely meaningless antagonists who serve only to provide the technically necessary action of an action horror piece. Phantom Blood is the thing that stopped me from properly delving into JoJo for so long.
So Phantom Blood. So it was not just me. The Phantom Blood, which is the first part is hard to get into.
Two of which were with the anime, and
but obviously, if you push through it, the story is kind of interesting in my opinion.
During Phantom Blood, because I felt like my time was just being wasted. And the sad thing is, it's not that long either. 9 anime episodes and 5 manga volumes. But 9 episodes is such a weird number because generally I'll give something, maybe they just 3 to 5 episodes.
That's true.
Yeah, it's about 9 dropping episodes. So 9 it's a surprisingly huge ask. I mean, at that point, you're looking at what, just over 3.5 hours of anime? Yeah, that's a lot, especially when you're not enjoying it.
gonna lie,
Some people
3
have
hours
come up
doesn't
with
sound
a
too much to me. I'm a
solution
weeb,
for
so
this,
I can
which
watch
is to
it.
skip part 1 and
If I have
then
the time, I'll
immediately
watch
begin
it.
with part 2, or in some cases even
I don't like
part
saying
3,
weeb.
which I will
Forget that.
emphasize
I'm an
should
anime
never
fan,
be
so.
done. Part 1, whilst underwhelming on its own, is the foundation for everything to come after it. Without the knowledge of these mundane events and characters, the effect of future parts, especially 2 and 3, are heavily minimized, and that becomes a roadblock of its own. Because if you aren't equipped with the history, the chances of losing interest in events you don't fully understand skyrockets. So you're left with this horrendous situation where you must force your way through part 1 for maximum enjoyment of everything else. And I think that the best solution to this I've heard so far is
yeah,
to
I'd
sit
say the
down
word
and just
force.
make a
I don't
day
want
of
to say
watching
force,
with
but
friends,
you
so you
gotta
can keep each other entertained instead of just being bored.
So it really is
and
not just
Here's
me.
the thing
It
though,
was him
until
too,
you
so.
get through Phantom Blood. And
That's
to be
good.
quite frank, you deserve a medal for doing that. Then you move
I
on
do?
to Battle Tendency, and look, you probably enjoy it, if for the only reason that
I'm not
it's
gonna lie, he's
Phantom
giving
Blood.
Phantom Blood a lot of heat. I mean, I didn't think it. I mean, the beginning was slow. I'm gonna just say that the beginning was slow. Then it got interesting later on, but maybe because I'm like a brand new fan of the, like a new viewer.
Maybe
I don't
you
know.
think that you're clear from the JoJo
But,
roadblocks. Yeah,
I think he said he
you're wrong.
watched. He's seen some memes before he actually saw
Because
the
along comes part 3.
anime. I didn't see
Stardust
anything before I
Crusaders,
saw the
but it
show.
has
So
some, well, it has some changes it would like to
why
make.
are
A
his
lot
thighs
of
so
changes.
thick?
Firstly,
Pause.
remember Hamon? No, you don't. It's all about stands now. And not only that, remember story? Nope. No story this time around. It's just a Monster of the Week series, which won't truly progress any kind of story until the final few episodes. And finally, do you remember character development? Well, not anymore, because aside from the admittedly mighty Polnareff, none of our main characters are going to learn anything or change in any way as a result of this 48 episode run.
No character
48
development. Interesting.
episodes. And to be quite frank, this may be the most massive roadblock in all of JoJo. Primarily because it requires you as a reader or a watcher to completely change
for
your
me,
opinion.
character development is important, right? I don't want to say it's not, but like, if other things around it is good, I could look past that. Like, I don't know, but
Thinking and
I have to really
expectations of the
see what he
series,
means.
because
That, but like,
parts
just
1
in
and 2
general,
had
no
trained you
character
into viewing
development.
JoJo as an
It's not a good
ongoing
sign,
story
but,
with actual progress to be made, and
I'm
now
gonna
you've
still
had to
form my
switch
own
gears
opinion
and
when I
look
watch
at
the
it
show.
as more of an isolated anthology of stories, each exploring a particular power, which are admittedly very interesting, but it's not the value proposition
Oh, that was my
that we had
alarm.
been sold
Sorry
up
about
until
that.
now. Luckily for part 3 though, it does contain some of the most likable characters within JoJo at large, and that was
Part
how I
3.
was able to get through it. The interactions between the group,
I mean,
were
if you
pure
got
gold.
part 1
However,
and
after
2,
24
I'm pretty
episodes,
sure you
I
can
was
get through
starting
the
to get
rest.
very, very frustrated that nothing was actually happening. And I've heard from many people in my comment section that just stopped watching or reading during part 3 because it is such a sizable piece of story. Because if it's 9 episodes of Phantom Blood, well, you can just blast through that. However, according to mathematics, 48 is a much larger number than 9.
48
and thus
episodes.
will require, a certain degree of patience to get through, even if you're committed to just letting go and enjoying the ride. Here's where the good news finally comes.
Is it really
After
that
Stardust
dull? I hope
Crusaders,
not.
it's pretty smooth
I don't
sailing
wanna-
through Diamond is
I'm gonna still
unbreakable
give it a
and
shot,
Golden
obviously.
Age, which
I'm
arc
too
really
deep
starts
in
to
at this
perfect his
point.
stand storytelling formula, and by this time
There's
you
so
should
many
also be
characters I've never
accustomed to
even
Archie's
seen in the
habits
actual
of
anime. I need
changing
to
up
see
the
how they
series
talk.
genre. So the slice of
How
life
they
format
actually
of part
go
4
about
and the
things.
Italian mafia story of part 5 are taken in and adapted with significantly less narrative shock. Although I can't deny that each of those do present a potential roadblock as well, because if you're not interested in slice of life or a mafia drama, then that's going to heavily detract from your experience going forward. But the next potential big roadblock I see is part 6, being Stone Ocean, which I would say is a barrier for anime fans at this point, because to continue with JoJo, they
I'm not
need to
gonna lie,
delve
I
into
watched the
manga.
first few episodes of Stone Ocean.
Part
It
6
wasn't
is
too bad.
well
I mean,
acted
seeing
and
that
natural
Jolene
enough,
scene
but
in
it is
the
certainly not peak JoJo in
when
any
she
way,
got in
shape, or
prison,
form. And
search
unfortunately, a lot of
scene,
fans just stop right
top
here
tier
due
for
to
me.
not having the drive to finish Stone Ocean, which for many of them is their very first JoJo manga experience. And that's very unfortunate because it's
I'm not gonna lie. Okay, if I'm being completely honest, Stone Ocean is what got me to even give JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the whole entire series, a shot. Like if I didn't see Stone Ocean in the first few episodes, I probably would not have ever ended up watching JoJo. So shout out to Jolene, low key.
Glorious Steel Ball run. But if you've already made it to that point, then this video probably no longer holds any relevance for you, because you're 7 parts deep now, and you're well aware of what JoJo is, and I hope that you are now enjoying your time reading JoJo Leon. But the journey to get there, my god, the roadblocks are insane. I don't think this series ever lets up in terms of throwing something new your way, and something that could very potentially turn you off it. With that said, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure still has this undeniable charm that seems to see people through. I mean, it certainly worked for me, and it will probably work for you as well, so long as you hang in there and give it a chance.
Okay, so yeah, that was really interesting. I like how he gave a really good explanation as to why many people don't get into JoJo's. A few of those reasons I definitely agree with, especially early on when I originally heard about the show in like 2016. I don't know, the first part 1, the Phantom Blood, I couldn't get into it, and I think at the time I was actually juggling a few other animes at the same time. So I recommend if for me, I mean, for me at least, watching JoJo's, getting into it, I wouldn't want to have any other animes on my list at the same time, because like I tend to juggle like 2-3 animes at the same time, and yeah, so I wouldn't do that if we wanted to get into this, in my opinion. But everything else I see are valid points. They didn't really pertain to me though, because I didn't really know about JoJo's until I actually got into it. Stone Ocean is what got me into actually watching JoJo's and giving it a fair shot this time. So shout out to Jolene, like I said. But yeah, man, this was a really good video either way. So I like how we broke it down. But yeah, man, that's all I got for this reaction. If you guys are new, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and we're out.